The biggest club competition in South America is back, and it's time for the knockouts. But first, this is how all of the groups ended. The wait is over. We finally got rid of all of the filler teams, who were here only for CONMEBOL's prize money, and others have departed to the Copa Sudamericana. Only the best of the best remain, and the clashes will now be life or death. Which is why here in Red Talks Bowl, we're gonna predict the first leg of all the round of 16 ties of the Copa Libertadores 2024. The reigning champions Fluminense, the same way it's been this entire group stage, heavily struggled, this time against Alianza Lima at the Maracanã. When only 7 minutes in, the Peruvians stunned them with a great header from Adriana Regui. Then we saw the same thing again from Fluminense, possession with no threat whatsoever, which is why Diniz made 3 substitutions at halftime, and it paid off with Keno scoring the equalizer only 2 minutes into the second half. However, only 3 minutes after that, Kevin Serna with a great volley gave Alianza Lima the lead again. However, 2 minutes after that, Marcelo with an amazing shot made it 2-2 for Fluminense. After this electric start to the second half, both teams relaxed, and it seemed like at least Alianza Lima would get a memorable draw to take home back from Brazil. But in classic Alianza fashion, they conceded in the 81st minute, with John Kennedy winning the game for Fluminense. Now Fluminense will play fellow Brazilian team Gremio in the round of 16. Gremio, who after the floods in Porto Alegre finally got to play their games in hand, securing qualification by beating the strongest 4-0 at home and Huachipato 1-0 on the road. But a heated 1-1 draw against Estudiantes meant that Gremio was not able to top their group. Estudiantes, by the way, finished bottom of the group after losing a thriller game against Huachipato 4-3 at home. And because of this, the Chilean champions got a ticket to the Copa Sudamericana. Now, currently both teams are struggling in the Brasileirao, so this will be a bit of a weird clash. But I like what I've seen from Gremio a bit more. They are currently on better form and the first leg is at home, which is why in this first game, I'm gonna predict Gremio to win. Atlético Mineiro embarrassed Caracas once again. And yes, sadly that is the last time you will hear that jingle this year. After losing 4-0 in Brazil with goals from Santana, Huki and a brace from Pedrinho, the Venezuelans end up as the worst team of this Copa Libertadores with a single point and a -16 goal difference. Mineiro, on the other hand, dominated the group with 5 wins and a single loss. Quite the opposite of their rivals San Lorenzo, who had to scrape by to get to this point. In the final match day, they needed a draw against Palmeiras in Brazil to secure qualification to the round of 16. And luckily for them, it seemed like the Brazilians accepted the ceasefire, and the 0-0 draw meant that Independiente del Valle's 2-1 win over Liverpool was only good enough to get the Ecuadorians a ticket to the Copa Sudamericana. Now San Lorenzo has to face one of the best teams in the group stage and their form isn't great. But Mineiro isn't exactly a consistent team either, and so playing in Argentina, I think that this first game is gonna end in a draw. River Plate had already secured the first place in the group before this match day, but they still took care of business at home against Deportivo Táchira. In a very unimpressive game, Miguel Borja scored 2 tap-ins to give River all 3 points, in what was another defeat for the team from Venezuela. However, despite finishing the group stage as the team with the most points, River fans were not really satisfied with Martín de Michelis' work, and so he was sacked last week. And in comes club legend Marcelo Gallardo, putting the suit back on 1.5 years after departing the club. And with their beloved manager on the bench, River Plate are gonna have to tackle fellow Argentinian side, Talleres. The team from Córdoba traveled to Brazil knowing that a draw was gonna be enough to secure them first place in the group, but Sao Paulo defended their ground. They scored late in the first half through a penalty taken by Lucas Moura, and scored a second in the 90th minute thanks to Luciano Neves. Miguel Navarro was then sent off for Talleres, and the game ended the way it needed to end, with a scramble. Now this one is a really tough one to call. Talleres aren't exactly the most consistent teams, and we'll have to see how River are gonna do now with Gallardo as their coach again, and only having a few days to prepare. I'm gonna be bold. Playing at home, I think that the win will go to Talleres in the first leg. Junior didn't let Colombia down for once, and in a boring game in Barranquilla where almost nothing of note happened, they got a 0-0 draw against Botafogo to secure first place in the group, with both teams still qualifying to the round of 16. Impressively, Junior went unbeaten this group stage with 2 wins and 4 draws, and in the round of 16 they will have to face a team expert in the art of getting draws, Colo-Colo, the Chilean team led by Jorge Almirón, who last year took Boca Juniors all the way to the Copa Libertadores final by drawing every single knockout game and winning every tie on penalties, is back at it again, doing the bare minimum, as after their 1-1 draw against Cerro Porteño in the final match day, he's broken another Copa Libertadores record, being the first team to qualify out of the group stage with only 6 points, 1 win, 3 draws and 2 losses, advancing over Cerro Porteño on away goals after being tied in points, goal difference and goals scored. And I expect absolutely nothing to change. With the first leg being played in Chile, I think this game will end in a draw. Sao Paulo were not satisfied with only qualifying, and so they beat Talleres 2-0 at home to secure first place in the group. First with a penalty scored by Lucas Moura, and Luciano Neves getting a second near the end of the game with an assist from Igor Vinicius. The other match of this group was Barcelona beating Cobresal 2-1 at home to get a spot in the Copa Sudamericana. Now Sao Paulo is gonna have to play against Nacional, who in the final match day took the lead early against Libertad in Paraguay with a goal from Franco Romero. However, Libertad would pull off the comeback, first with a goal from their legendary 41-year-old striker Tacuara Cardoso, and near the end of the first half, Alejandro Silva made it 2-1 for the Paraguayans. And you may think this result doesn't matter because Libertad were already qualified to the Copa Sudamericana and Nacional were already qualified to the round of 16. But no, because with this result, Nacional ended the group stage 1 point short of qualification to the Club World Cup, and in order to attend this competition, they will have to get a result against Sao Paulo, but at home in Uruguay I think they will, and this first game will be a draw. Palmeiras went easy on San Lorenzo, knowing that the Argentinians only needed a draw to qualify, and in the end the 0-0 result surprised nobody. Botafogo also got a 0-0 draw, but this one to their detriment as they finished behind Junior in the group. Meanwhile, in the other game of Group D, Liga de Quito beat Universitario 2-0 at home and will go back to the Copa Sudamericana. Now the two Brazilian teams will face off, and despite both being in the top 3 of the Brasileirao, their form is a bit shaky. However, I will trust the team that has the most experience in this competition, and despite playing the first leg on the road, I will predict Palmeiras to win. The strongest were already qualified going into the final match day, and good thing they were because Gremio had no mercy on them. Early into the game, Diego Costa put a cross inside the box, and Soteldinho with an acrobatic attempt scored the opener for Gremio. And in the second half, the goals kept coming. João Pedro from outside the box, then Everton, and near the end of the game, Gustavo Gomez with a great individual goal to hand the Bolivians a 4-0 defeat. Even after this, they still topped the group, which means now they have to play against Peñarol, who faced a Rosario Central that needed to win the road if they wanted to have any chance to qualify to the round of 16. But Peñarol was not about to allow that, and Leonardo Fernandez took matters into his own hands, running inside the box and dribbling past several defenders to score a golazo. In the second half, Rosario bounced back when a shot from outside the box from Campas was poorly cleared away by goalkeeper Aguirre, and Modica was able to score the equalizer that gave Central a bit of hope. But in the 83rd minute, Leonardo Fernandez would score again to eliminate Rosario Central, and after 13 years and 9 consecutive group stage exits, qualify Peñarol to the round of 16. And the last time they made the knockouts in 2011, they went all the way to the final. And the Mancha has convinced me. The altitude merchants have no chance in the plains of Montevideo, and the first leg will be for Peñarol. Bolivar ended their group stage campaign in style. In La Paz they laid back, and watched as Palestino self-destructed. First, a cross inside the box was headed by Jose Bizama into his own net, and right after half-time, Ariel Martinez would score yet another own goal to make it 2-0 to Bolivar. Palestino would finally score a goal into the right target when Chamorro got one back for the Chileans in the 68th minute. But near the end of the game, the striker for Bolivar, Chico, would make it 3-1 to secure the Bolivians' first place in the group. This, however, would not matter as they would get paired up against the team who finished second in their group, Flamengo. Similar to Bolivar, El Mengao simply allowed their rivals Millonarios to implode. First, a horrible pass from Giraldo back to his goalkeeper allowed Pedro to score the opener for the Brazilians 7 minutes in. And to make matters worse, in the 25th minute, Juan Pablo Vargas would score an own goal. Right before halftime, Pedro would get himself a second, securing the 3-0 win for Flamengo. And listen, we saw this matchup happen in the group stage, and Flamengo know they gotta make a difference before traveling away to the altitude. So for me, the first leg will go to El Mengao. And this is how my predictions are going. In the last match day of the group stage, I barely got a positive score, with 9 correct guesses and 7 misses, leaving the total score with 54 correct predictions and 40 incorrect. Let's hope the winter break didn't affect me and I can continue scoring these in the knockouts. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Remember to like, leave a comment with your thoughts down below, and subscribe to not miss out any more Copa Libertadores content. I'll be seeing you all next time.